Alrighty, welcome back. It's been a while, and a lot of stuff has happened to me in the last couple of months. None of which I was quite prepared for. The last 3 weeks in particular have been pretty trying. Looking at the website, and I've made one subtle change to it, and you'll see these things appearing more and more on the forums, etc. And that's this. When you go to the order page now, there's a donate button. Actually, it's a panel, and you click through, it takes you to a PayPal donation page. So this is not a purchase page, it's a donation. And to go through why it's necessary, I think people have this idea that building websites is free, time is just endless, you can do whatever you want, and these projects are small and easy and quick to make. That's simply not the case. It's so far from reality, it's not even funny. My situation now is very different than what it was before. So my overheads these days are basically double what they were before. At the moment, it's even worse because we've got paying rent on a place I can't live in, while I pay rent in another place where I am living. So if we go back a few months to the news, I was kind of doing the website, the back end of the website stuff, which has bothered me for quite a while, updating it a bit, refreshing the theme a little bit, then wanting to move to a bootstrap theme, which is more of a collapsible, mobile friendly thing. Like, it does work on your mobile, but it's not resizable the way most pages aren't. We get a little bit of traffic from phones, but not a great deal. But things like Google want sites to be mobile first. They want to push those sites before desktop sites. Even though for us it's kind of nonsensical, really, Anyway, so here we're talking about the last post here is from September. So if we go back to September, our family home was being sold, and cleaning up the place, and it was just getting into full-on move-out mode, sell off a whole bunch of stuff that I wouldn't have space for anywhere else. I couldn't find a place to rent because the rental market's incredibly tight now. So getting in is harder than what it ever used to be. There's a lot of stock, but things are very expensive. Rents have gone up. Sort of the lower end prices, which was all I can afford, really, they are hard to get into. So I finally found a place. It was going well, and we're starting to make the place work. Actually, it was starting to feel like it could work really well in the long term. We had a house fire. And coming home to the fire, and it's funny when people say to you that you've been very lucky, you've only lost a room full of stuff rather than the whole house full of stuff. If that had happened, we would have lost all my everything I've ever been involved with would have been lost. I mean, I've got albums I've played on and stuff, master recordings of those. I've got in magazines I was involved in, and not to mention, games I've written in the past for old platforms, and PlayBASIC would have been gone. It would have been no more overnight, There are backups of a lot of this stuff, and I have given some of those things to third parties in the past, but I haven't done that for years. Whether or not they kept those discs or not, I mean, who knows? They're probably in landfill, But, so overnight from the fire, I became homeless. It's just a reality. I was homeless there and then. So me and my dog, we went and crashed on a friend's couch, and the last 3 weeks we've been cleaning up the place, and we moved into luckily I know another guy who had a rental that just had been vacated by someone else. And I said, yeah, let's go, let's do it today, So I've been moving my stuff that I'd moved before, but now it's covered with soot, cleaning it all up, etc. So my hands are a permanent black at this point. I barely changed clothes in the last 2-3 weeks. Forget the Christmas time. I didn't even notice Christmas Day. I mean, I went and had spent that day with a friend of mine and her son, which is really nice. It's good to have a distraction for a day. And as of a couple of days ago, I handed the keys back because the place is unlivable. But I just discovered they've kept charging rent for it, So I'm sure they have some excuse about, vacating, etc. Anyway, long story short, our overheads are much higher, and I think in years gone by, you could get away with probably 20 grand, pretty comfortably, and these days you're looking at probably 40 minimum, and that's not a great lifestyle. If you're wondering how that would be used, I mean, you can't find a rental place where I live for less than 20 grand a year. Maybe 18.5, maybe 19, but most places are 20,000. And the market just is so hot that people will just pay anything to get into a place. So you're either willing to pay it or you're not. If you're not, where are you going to go? So long story short, we're not in a position where I'm comfortable selling licenses to people. We're not there, right? But we do need to have some secondary support from the community to keep the wheels turning somewhat. I suspect we won't get anyone, all that enthusiastic about helping out, which because basically what happens is people say one thing and they do another, and that's fair enough. That's human nature. But it would be very appreciated, very helpful at the moment. But all of this has put us behind. We just keep slipping behind the 8 ball constantly. I mean, really, in 3 months, I've barely touched anything. The times I've sat in front of the computer was just to relax and try and ignore what's happened in recent weeks. So for New Year's Eve, didn't do anything, of course. I think I just took the dog to the park, etc. Did nothing. Made minimal changes here. We haven't updated the changes to the website at all. The things I wanted to do, like I thought I would be through the website update and then into the compiler stuff, basically 2 months ago, really. Sort of the focus on the website update was to get the back end more consistent, have the pages be produced with one chunk of code rather than have a different chunk of code for every single page, which is just crazy. There's so many differences between each page, it was just driving me nuts. I'm not saying what we've got now is, special or anything like that, but it just functions better than what it had before. And it's easier to migrate, make changes to, correct things, add things, etc. that will be universal. I can add a new tag now and it will be available on every page straight away. So a lot of this has been to make it more consistent, make it work better, and then in more recent times we've got better administration. Talking about the admin, it's the online version. We're looking at the stats from today, really. This is Jan 1st. We'll change the date to get a look at how December went. So we had 33,000 visits from 1,700 different unique IP addresses. So user agents. So about 26% seem to be human. The rest is bot traffic. Go to page stats, have a look. I wanted to link some of these things up a bit further actually, and build better conclusions, track through where people went to an order page, like the order page here for example. I mean 700 views of the order page. I mean, that's pretty decent. If we had 1% of that, 7 orders. Sounds pretty pathetic, at like $30 a head. That's a reasonable return. It's enough to keep the doors turning over. I think retail in terms, we're probably looking at about $29, probably $30 US. Even though I think the previous retail was about $14 for the old version. Going forward, it'll be more expensive than what it has been in the past, and probably have a different licensing model. We're going to have to address those things are coming up as well. If we keep going and we implement the next compiler and patch the runtimes together, and then we have finally our standalone edition, we're going to want to address the licensing problems that have been there around us for a while. And those problems is that one of the things I wanted to do is give people an assurance for their old builds. When they bought PlayBASIC, they would have access to PBFX, either at a discount price or probably free initially for those very early ones. Because back then we were looking at building effects pretty much 18 months to 2 years later, having it released. Just took longer than that. You've got to support the old version. We were trying to support the old version and build a new version, or we probably should just went, no more revisions to PlayBASIC, which I think is, I don't like that behaviour in products, but I know you sort of have to do it eventually. This will come to the same sort of point. We'll get to a point where we can't update the old version of this any more than here. We've done all we can do with it, and you can sort of cobble together things on it that you like, but we want to focus on the newer edition from now on, which will happen if we can keep the doors, keep this thing afloat. That'll happen, and then we'll really focus on helping people improve what they produce, which in turn helps us produce better support for them through the language. We don't know what people want unless you're making something. It's that vicious cycle. You can try and predict what people are going to use. That never works. It's a complete waste of time. You got to kind of build it, have someone make something out of it, and then that's how you find the limitations, or the good bits, the bad bits, and all the ugliness between those 2 points. The help pages are interesting. So we've got 10,000 views on the help files, and the index was only hit 136 times. That means a lot of bots were tracing through the help files, which is good. It means we can get out there in search engine bellies out there somewhere, which is what I wanted. We had all this text content which wasn't available online. Couldn't get to it. It was only available through the software. It wasn't doing us any favours. And even though really probably 3 months having it up online now, we're not hitting any home runs. We're not seeing thousands of people coming through here and looking at them, but we are getting a slight improvement. If we go back to November, go back to page stats and look at the help files, They're about the same. 9,000 views. I think it was marginally higher than that, you know, but not enough to be an obvious bias. You know, enough to be noise. They're probably robots doing those things. And over this Christmas time, robots are just, they go ballistic because everyone's trying to pimp their Christmas products, affiliate products. So they make bots that run around and try and post everywhere. Frustrating that we've got bits and pieces of those things through newsletter submissions, etc., and just orders in general. And then some pages we had stats running in the background on, but not the whole site. So we're generating information. We're just going to make better use of that information to work out what people actually want. That horrible thing about if you ask people to their face what they want, they'll give you an idealised answer. If you ask someone, well, what's your favourite movie? They'll often pick out something that's kind of cerebral or oh, I love this movie because it's a... But what they actually watch when they go home is probably some dumb comedy. Watching The Waterboy. That's me. That's the kind of thing. And that's what happens with these kind of surveys. You ask people, and I'll tell you what they think you want to hear, and it doesn't do you any good. You kind of need warts and all. You need to hear the good and the bad, you know. And often the way to grow is in the bad stuff, is going, okay, what are people having problems with? That's what we need to fix, you know. Surely if we make improvements that make people's experience more comfortable, they'll find life easier using PlayBASIC and find making applications easier. All right, I'll probably shut up now, but you know, so we do have this donation page. It will appear on the forums over here as well. I've just tagged one on the bottom of one of these threads. To the bottom here, for example, and it will show up a lot more than what I was comfortable doing. But if you feel like we deserve an odd donation here or there, then please do. You're not obligated to. Don't feel that you have to do those things. I'm not holding anyone to ransom for doing those things. But But the reality is this, is if we don't have a return for what's the effort that's been put in, I don't think people understand, we're talking about tens of thousands of hours of work to bring this to you for nothing, right? Most people I know basically say to me, why do you even let people use the forums for free? It's like, well, you sort of have to, you know. That's how we've always done it, you know. Why do you let people ask you questions directly? It's like, well, that's just a more comfortable way of doing it, you know. Because a lot of other applications don't have that anymore. You have to pay for support. If you want to talk to the developers, you pay directly, you know. It's very expensive to do those things. It's not a road I want to go down. I'm just saying that it's become kind of, I think people's expectations of what you can do by yourself are up in the stratosphere sometimes about what's feasible, and you need to have a reality based around those things. At some point you've got to make a living, and at some point you've got to pay for your rent, your food, your expenses, insurances, etc. Something breaks, I've got to go buy another one. If my laptop died tomorrow, I'd be stuffed. And it would be literally stuffed. I wouldn't be able to replace it. So, those are real things. For a long time, we had a good return from the software. We could actually warrant producing updates for it, warrant spending a lot of time in the forums, weren't doing those things. But if we can't get that return, that will simply stop. There's just no point doing it. You know, forget all these social media blah blah blahs. They're just a complete waste of time. You know, I spent so much time on Facebook, so much time on YouTube, etc., producing content for these things, making videos. People go, oh no, you got to make long videos, you make short videos, got to make this, got to make that. Okay. If you make an hour-long video, do you have any idea how long that takes to produce? I don't think people do. You know, frustrating, isn't it? You know, you want to do this stuff, but it's hard to get the kind of traction that we need. All's not lost though. We just need people to be active. You know, get over here and do something. Write things. You know, make conversations. Get the things going on. Yeah. If you're keen for social media, then get on Facebook and use the groups. I think I've had a Facebook page now for like 10 years, and we can't get a couple of hundred people on it. It's hopeless. Right. So on our YouTube page, which was been up since 2009, holy hell, so that long. For a long time, we couldn't upload videos. My home connection was so poor that you couldn't even entertain uploading videos. And now I can, and people just don't watch it. It's a waste of time. Wow. 60,000 views in what? 14 years? That doesn't sound like a lot to me. And there you go. We've got, what have we got here? We've got 109 subscribers. This fluctuates a lot. It actually goes up and down all the time. So you kind of get a little bit of growth and they leave, a little bit of growth, they leave. It just never grows consistently. Yeah. We're not the kind of channel that we're not an information channel. We're just kind of using this to support the websites. It makes you wonder why. I mean, it's not worth doing. Would often take code snippets people would make videos and promote those outside of here, across Twitter, etc. And this one here is a good example. It's been up for a year and it's watched 45 times. That's it. 45 times. So there's ray tracing stuff. 75 views in 9 months. I'm just saying, you know, if you want to help out with the whole forum thing, the whole website thing, you've got to get involved in all of this stuff. You make sure you watch the videos, make sure you comment, like, share, because if you don't, I'm not going to bother with any of it. It's just a complete waste of time. And this is what happens with these other products, is they get to a point where they're not viable anymore. The people behind them, you know, get to a point where they can't actually maintain their own life in order to produce new updates. You know, I love to employ people. I love to bring more people in and get out there and make a big deal about this, but it's just not going to be feasible. When you compare, you know, our views to other things in the basic spectrum, you'll see some, you know, there's a tutorial one I was looking at a while back. Just a guy with a headset was talking about, you know, one dialect of BASIC. It wasn't edited, it was just live to camera. It had almost 200,000 views on it for one video that was maybe 2 years old. On our stuff, we wouldn't have got 1,000 views on any of those videos, ever. In 14 years. So when people talk about social media to me, it's like fingers down a chalkboard. It's like, oh yeah, great, social media, fantastic. Facebook's been the same, Twitter's been basically the same. You've got to be so involved, engaged in those platforms to keep that thing rolling. That it's like a full-time job for each platform. That's why people have media managers who do this stuff for them. Anyway, I think we got distracted there. I'll leave it there for now, and hope you had a good New Year's Eve and happy Christmas and all that kind of stuff. And we shall endeavour to do things in 2023 that we haven't got done in 2022. It's the best I can go. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.